If you could have a drink with anyone in the theater world, who would it be? I'm Anthony Caporale, and I'm running through my list. Each week, I'll sit down with cast members, bartenders, and personalities from New York's theater district and get a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like to live, work, and play on Broadway. Come have a drink with us on Broadway Bartender. Welcome to Broadway Bartender. My name is Anthony Caporale, and we are here at New World Stages in the heart of Manhattan's Theater District, home to my shows, The Imbible, A Spirited History of Drinking, and The Imbible Day Drinking. Today we're going to start with a variation of a drink that we've made before called the Moscow Mule. Very, very popular drink, but we're going to do a little bit of tweaking to it in honor of our special guest, who I am so excited to talk to today. But like a traditional Moscow Mule, we're going to start with some vodka in a mixing tin with ice. And I want about 2 ounces of vodka per drink. So I'm going to do 4 ounces, which is an 8 count for our viewers who watch the series frequently. And then I'm going to add some lime juice. And I want the juice of 1/2 of a lime per drink. So that is going to be a full lime for this double recipe. And as always, the second half goes in the drink so that the alcohol can dissolve all those beautiful essential oils, which is where all the flavor in a lime is. And I'm going to shake this up really, really well. I want to chill the drink, dilute the drink. Again, as I said, dissolve all those essential oils. And also introduce some air bubbles. That helps bring the flavor of the liquid to your nose. All right, when that's nice and chilled, I'm going to strain it into a Collins glass over fresh ice. We always want to serve our drinks over fresh ice. And a little bit of ginger beer, as most of you know, for a Moscow Mule. But I'm not calling this a Moscow Mule, I'm calling it a Moscow Thoroughbred, because we're going to top it off with some sparkling wine, which was one of the favorite drinks of the Tsars, and specifically the Romanov family. And that is why I've chosen this drink, a little candied ginger, in honor of our guest, Mary Beth PEIL, who I just saw in Anastasia.
You did?
Oh my goodness. So for you, ma'am, cheers, and let me know what you think of the
excited to
Moscow
drink
Thoroughbred here.
Do you use a straw, don't you?
You can use whatever you'd like.
Oh my God.
Like? Good?
That is seriously good.
Crisp.
I'm gonna...
Please, go for it. Get that candied ginger in there too. Really, really nice. So I think it's so interesting that...
This is really good.
Yeah, good? Okay, great. I can never tell because
I do have a show tonight, you know.
Yeah, I know, so do I.
Yeah.
I'm always talking to actors, and when they can tell me something's good, and I'm like, I don't know if I believe you. But I'm going to take you at your word. So yeah, I find it so interesting that the Tsars were huge fans of champagne.
Anything
and you
French.
mention it.
Anything French.
Anything French, right? And
They
a big
were
part
so
of the show is in France. That's just fascinating to me.
The Russians emulated as much of France as they could to become worldly.
Is that what they were trying to do?
Yeah,
It was like,
Peter the Great started it.
Really?
He went to France and he learned about everything and what to eat and what to drink and planted things and just recreated a different kind of empire.
And is that why the expats gravitated to Paris?
I think so. I think they just felt comfortable there. They all spoke French when they were in Russia. And I think at that time a lot of people felt that French was the ultimate.
The international language and sort of the capital of fashion and style and civilization.
Style and diplomatic good taste, everything. Beautiful. Wow. And it still is.
I know. I know. Yeah. I was amazed at how much I learned from the show. And I don't know whether that was intentional or not, but I walked away feeling like I got this amazing history lesson in addition to the wonderful story that everyone's familiar with. And
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I think it's what sets it aside from the normal Broadway Disney princess story, is that it's rooted in actual history and a fascinating, colorful history.
Unbelievable. And
tragic, sad.
Yeah, and you don't shy away from it at all, even though the source material is, you know, what a lot of people I think would consider to be a children's movie.
Yes.
But man, the revolution is handled well, and again, I learned so much. The scene in the bar in Paris, I had no
With
idea.
all the expats, yes, that was very, very true.
Several friends, huge fans of the movie, and they went to see the show, but they said it was significantly different.
Much different,
And one of the things that they said was that it was much more historically grounded than the movie was.
We had some Russian press people come to see it early on, and they were so moved by how much the history was honored. Yeah, it was
That must be such a rewarding experience.
It was really lovely. Yeah, it was really lovely.
Wow. So your role, that's the other thing that I thought was phenomenal, is there's, clearly the two leads in the show, but the supporting cast was
I know.
Unbelievable.
We have a treasure trove of Broadway babies, people making their debut, and Broadway veterans. Just everyone sings so beautifully and dances and acts, and I mean, it's a very rich cast.
And the supporting roles are so
Yes.
rich and wonderful, and it just must have been an incredible experience for you.
It continues every night. It's just the audiences out of sight. I feel like I'm at a rock concert. I have to confess to you, I put earplugs in during the curtain call.
Really?
It's painful.
I can imagine. They could not wait to stand up.
I know.
They literally couldn't wait to stand up.
Thrilling. For an old broad like me, I'm telling you, to see all these, it's thrilling.
Congratulations. I mean, that's amazing. So, multiple Tony nominations, most recently. That's multiple, yeah.
That's multiple.
So,
That's
most
right.
recently for this role. But then The King and I also. I mean,
32 years earlier.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
I mean,
really is.
what was that
It really
like, getting that second nod?
It was very thrilling and satisfying and very moving to me, because 32 years earlier, for The King and I had just made the move from opera to theater, music theater, and I didn't even really know what the Tonys were. I didn't know anybody in the theater world. I felt like an interloper. I felt like, oh my gosh, when they find out I don't know what I'm doing, they're going to be, it was so different. And I said to myself, if I ever get back here, I want to feel like I belong, and that I'm loved.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Oh man, I can imagine.
So lovely.
That's fantastic. What made you decide to move from classical and opera to musical theater? Was it the role?
Well, partly. I did a production of Kiss Me Kate with Minnesota Opera, where I'd done a lot of opera, and in the midst of rehearsing, where I thought, well, I'm going to lose my voice, because you can't rehearse 8 hours a day and scream and talk and sing high notes and sing low notes. As an opera singer, you're constantly protecting everything. So I thought, well, I'll probably just die here and never perform again. And every day I got stronger.
Wow.
Every day I got stronger, and every day I realized you don't have to be absolutely perfect. Plus the thing of doing 8 shows a week, which I also thought would kill me.
Yeah.
You get to do it again. If it wasn't perfect, who cares?
Right.
First of all, and second of all, it's more exciting if it isn't perfect. And I just fell in love with the form.
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful way. I think the way that you said it was wonderful, because what it implies is that in the classical forms, like opera, perfection is the standard.
Totally. Ballet, classical, high form sports.
Yeah, that's it.
They're very equivalent, and you miss one thing and everybody's, whoa, nothing.
Right. Whereas in musical theater, you're an entertainer.
Yeah.
And if you're likable and people are entertained.
It's such a great communal,
Wow.
It's more fun.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that.
And I can have a little,
And you can have
one
a
more
little
little
drink.
sip.
So what was it like? You played opposite Yul Brynner.
I did.
Oh, please tell me about that.
Come on.
I mean, what is that like?
The king.
Is he just when he walks into a room? What is that like standing opposite him on stage?
Yes, everything he did was, I guess you could say bigger than life, but just, you paid attention. paid attention. And I was, as it turns out, fortunate enough to be with him the last 2 years of his life. He knew he was dying. So it took on an added dimension of his awareness of his own mortality that made every day, every performance so precious.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a privilege that must have been.
It was thrilling. I learned so much from him.
Wow. One of the things I was going to ask you, and I think you've already answered the question, is when you walked on stage as the Dowager Empress the first time, that's what I felt as an audience member. It was a tangible presence, and I was like, I'm in the presence of a master of their craft. When you walked on stage, you just owned the room, and it's not a small room. Is that something that you can attribute to spending time with somebody like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. If, in fact, what you saw is true, I watched him. He's the master of concentration and stillness.
That's what you projected. No, it was amazing.
Did it make me cry?
No. It was a privilege, really, watching. It was one of those moments that I was like, in the context of a show that was on its own merits a privilege to be at. Your performance was just one of the things that will stay with me forever, and I thank you for that moment, because that's what theater is about. But television now, tell me, completely different.
Yes,
let's just
turn
switch
the page,
tracks, right? Because again, and so many people are making the jump back and forth, and one of the ways that you keep a show open today is to take somebody from
Isn't it great
film and
to be in New York,
yeah,
where so much film and television is going on, so that actors can do all of it.
But it's a different style. I mean, The Good Wife, Dawson's Creek. How do you change what you're bringing to the performance when you don't have 1,800 people in front of you giving you immediate feedback?
Well, you have that. You have the camera, who is going to decide what it likes and doesn't like. And so you kind of, what I felt in learning from film and television, which was very interesting to me, is the camera can tell when you're lying. An audience can't. They're far enough away that you can be, and they're going, oh. If you do that on camera, first of all, you can't do it that big, but a camera can tell whether you mean it or not.
Right.
So it's a different onus on the actor, and I found that the energy that is required to do a stage performance in front of 1,000 people, and the discipline of doing it 8 shows a week, if you marry that into the film and television world, where you know exactly what you're doing, you're concentrating every minute, but then the degree of honesty that you have to have with the camera, if you bring that back onto the stage, it's fantastic. Wow. And I suspect that's why Brynner was so great on stage, because he had a career that was both started on stage, and then most of people know him through film.
What can you attribute being able to literally have, 2 Tony nominations, 32 years apart, and a career that spans The King and I and The Good Wife? I mean, this is the dream, right?
I think it's being blessed with really good genes, for starters. Thank you. And my wonderful acting teacher, Michael Howard, always said, it's the survival of the fittest. It really
Darwinism.
Is. It really is Darwinism.
Entertainment Darwinism.
Rawest level. Entertainment Darwinism. Truly, truly. And what I love is that to be able to talk to you like this at my age and feel like I'm just as young as a 25-year-old, as Ben Platt.
Yeah.
That's part of the showbiz thing. But it does keep you young, and there's no ageism. I mean, there is ageism in film and television, but
absolutely.
But in general,
yeah. I mean, when you need a role of a given age, you need a role of a given age,
yeah.
and if you're too young, you're not going to get the role.
You're not going to get it. Yeah.
Right. So
I actually have gotten more work once I turned 65.
Really?
Yeah. nonstop.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have
And I like that.
any idea why that is? Are there more roles for that?
I think there's less competition.
Less survivors, less people who've
Less survivors.
continued in the field.
Truly, less survivors.
Wow.
So I tell all the young ones, don't be discouraged. If you need to find something else to do along the way, do it. And if you can live without it, do something else. But if you can't live without it, just keep doing it.
Right.
Whether you get paid for it or not, just keep doing it.
Right. Does the 8-show-a-week schedule, as grueling as that is, in a role like the Dowager Empress, does that come easily to you now, having the background in something as rigorous as opera?
Yeah.
It does?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this must just be like just a dream.
It's a dream.
You walk
took
into
the
full
words
houses
right
that
out.
love you at the peak of your craft.
If I could have made it up, I could never have made this up.
Wow.
Never.
How did you become involved in the production?
I was invited to do a workshop about 2 years ago, and then stayed on with the pre-Broadway production at Hartford Stage. And then we just kept right on
stayed
going.
with it.
Yeah.
I always ask my guests if they would be kind enough to make me a drink at the end of every episode. Can I ask you to come back here?
Yes, I'd love to get back there.
Fantastic.
All right.
So why don't you just switch with me, and I will talk you through the entire process.
Okay. Okay.
And so now we are going to end firmly in Paris, as the story does. And we're going to make a very classic drink called a French 75. Have you enjoyed a French 75?
No, but do I get to make two?
Yes, you get to make two, absolutely. So we've actually done a French 75 on Broadway Bartender, but you can actually make this drink with either gin, which we have done, or brandy. And today we're going to do a version with brandy. So we're going to start with this mixing tin. If you just want to fill it about halfway with ice, right from the ice well underneath you.
Oh, yes. This is my ice
There's
scoop.
your ice scoop, absolutely.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, take your time. And then we have a clear bottle in the, yep, that's perfect. In the speed rail right underneath you, if you just want to pick that up. Good, and we're going to do about 2 ounces of brandy per drink, and in bartending, we count 1, 2, 3 in order to figure out how much liquid's coming out.
Okay.
Each count is a ½ ounce. So I want you to turn the bottle upside down and count to about 8. And singers and musicians get this right first time. The tension you can feel. Perfect. I told you, you're going to get perfect. Okay, so now we need to sweeten this a little bit, and for that we use simple syrup, and that's nothing more than equal parts granulated sugar and water right in there. And I want you to just do a 2 count of a nice gentle pour, and that's going to be about 1/2 ounce of simple syrup per drink. And once again, perfect, all done, great, that's great. And then we can take this fresh squeezed lemon juice.
I could just drink it like this.
You could, I could too, and just pour that right in. And the whole thing. I pre-measured it for you. That is, that's going to be about 1 ounce of lemon juice per drink. So all we've done really is we've made lemonade and added brandy to it. Yeah, pretty simple.
Yeah.
So now we want to take this shaker and put it on the tin. Yep, and just twist it and push it down a little bit.
Oh.
Good, great, perfect. You'll feel it kind of lock in there.
It's a little slanted, is that all right?
Yeah, it should be slanted. That's perfect. That's what kind of keeps it tight in there. So you're going to take one hand and put it on top of the tin, the other hand on the bottom of the tin, right? And just step a little bit away from the bar and just give it a little shake. Yep, and you don't have to even shake this too much. We're just going to try and chill it. Great, and just straight down to the floor. Perfect, there we go.
Ooh, it's getting cold.
That's what you want. Your fingers are getting cold?
Yeah.
You're done. So now you just go ahead and twist that top off. There you go. And we're going to take this strainer and put it on top of this tin, just the way you see it. This comes right off.
Oh, yes.
Yep, and that goes right there.
Yes.
And we have some champagne flutes. Great, you can just leave that off to the side. And this we're going to spin around. You're going to take your righty.
Yeah.
Take your index finger and put it right, take this finger on the other side. There you go, yeah, good. And put these fingers underneath. And you can use these fingers to hold the tin. Okay. There you go, great. And just strain it right into those champagne flutes, nice and gently.
Come out.
Beautiful. And now go ahead and switch over to this side. And this is the base of our brandy French 75. And to make it French, we need some sparkling wine. Yeah. So now we're all done. And in the other side of the speed rail is some sparkling wine. There's a bottle right there. Yep. And you can just go ahead and pour that right up to about, we want to go about 1 inch below the rim. Perfect. Perfect. You always want to leave room
for the
bubbles. Absolutely.
Oh, it's a beautiful
That is,
thing.
look at that, perfect, right up to the top,
oh yeah,
and
like
then back down.
That one.
And we have some lemon peel, and just go ahead and drop those right in the drink.
Why did the bubbles do better on that one than on that one?
It has to do with how hard they hit the surface. If you pour gently, you get a smaller head. If you pour more rigorously, then you're going to get a larger head.
I was too.
No, they were both perfect. Look, the level's exactly the same in both those glasses. It's ideal. And we are all done with our French 75. Go ahead and give that a little taste and see what you think. Cheers.
In your eye.
The
lemon.
nose is just wonderful, isn't it? Fantastic. What a great job.
No, seriously.
It's good stuff, yeah?
This is fantastic.
I know, and now you have it on video. You can make it anytime you want.
What'd you call it, 75?
French 75.
French 75. It sounds
French
a little dirty.
75. Yeah, a little bit. Well, I think everything French sounds a little dirty, especially when you start throwing numbers in there.
I think you might be right.
You know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Again, this has been one of the highlights of Broadway Bartender, and just a personally amazing experience for me. Your performance really touched me, and it's just been a privilege talking to you. Mary Beth Peil, multiple Tony nominee, Anastasia, the Dowager Empress. Website for the show, I'm sure they just type in Anastasia, it's going to come right up.
Yeah, Anastasia.com.
Folks.
Thank you for a fun show.
Oh,
so great.
My whole day.
Really?
Folks, Broadway Bartender, you can tune in every week. Recipes, links, all kinds of great stuff. Drink well, drink responsibly. Cheers.
Yay. French 75.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job. All right, keep rolling, guys.
I mean, seriously.
No, it's good, right?
That's good.
It's fantastic.
It's one of my favorites. You are, oh my goodness. I don't know how to say thank you. That was just amazing.
You said thank you in many ways. Thank you.
Wonderful,
Thank you.
wonderful, wonderful.
We'll get you guys behind.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's fabulous. That was great.
Thank you. Thanks.
My dad then ended up doing theater with us, and so we were like a theater family in Great Bend, Kansas, doing community theater at the Barton County Community College. And my mom never wanted to be on stage, so she was always backstage doing anything else, costumes, props, what have you. And so, yeah, I saw the two of them in shows before I was in shows. They did Annie Get Your Gun together, you and Dad, and then...
With your dad? You did a show with your dad?
Yeah. Yeah, what did you? Oh yeah, we have a Fiddler on the Roof picture. We did Fiddler on the Roof. That was my first show, and oops, that was my first show. And, it's like I don't really drink much, so I'm already. But yeah, this is bad for me because it'll get me drunk.
No, this is good. Look, it's got orange in it.
So
It's
smooth. So we were like a Fiddler on the Roof family in Anatevka. It was like he was the dad, we were the daughters.
Yeah.
Tradition.
Yeah.
And then my mom was backstage. But yeah, we were all doing the shows together.